Which one? Because we
And you're
want to
going
talk
to
about him
say,
next. But which
does
one?
it turn blue? I mean, never in American history has anybody ever said the city of New York needs to take over the grocery industry and have all of the grocery stores run by the city, provide free bus transportation on a socialist basis, and have the extremely wealthy pay for it. And then, like, it's like, what? You are in New York, the biggest city in America,
Capitalism,
the center
marketing.
of
Yeah, the
capitalism,
center.
where
This. Yeah.
Wall Street and all of this money making industry is, with the richest people in America living there, and you come up with some tripe that let's tax them heavier. Like, you have lost your mind, because nowadays you can move the hell out of New York. You don't have to stay there. You can easily get your computer system somewhere down in Florida, where the weather is nicer all year long. It's a
Right.
good place to retire. Or down in Texas, same thing, where they're so friendly to big business. Why stay in New York and make the place a cesspool for socialism to destroy what you're trying to work with? It just doesn't make sense.
But listen, so his socialist agenda is coming to a halt, honey, not just because of Trump, but because of governor. So now the New York Post reported that the wheels are coming off the socialist bus. Governor Kathy Hochul slammed the brakes on supporting Mamdani's $700 million call for free city buses. So casting doubt on that one of the far left mayor's elect signature campaign promises as a smooth road ahead. So she was speaking in Puerto Rico this past weekend, argued she has already put vast sums of money into the perpetual cash strap MTA for major projects. So she says, we're spending a lot of money, so I cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of the system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways. So that was a nice way of saying you ain't getting no free rides.
You ain't getting shit. Yeah, you've been talking shit. Now let's see. I was saying that
You say
first
he
of
ain't
all,
getting shit.
yeah, and he couldn't do it anyway, because what he was talking about doing would have to be effectuated by the New York State legislative uh, body. So you'd
Yes.
have the House and the Senate in New York go along with it, because the mayor doesn't have the authority to issue taxes, to do that kind of thing, or take these. He can't come in and say, all right, I'm the mayor, so I'm ordering that you close down and the city's going to take over your grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And see, they got far enough out of hand. You remember when they said you couldn't serve more than a 16-ounce soft drink because the city council of New York decided that it's bad for your health?
So here's the thing though, because the city council, they're the ones who have to vote on, whether they're going to increase or freeze rent, stuff like that. And so, because he came from the city council, but apparently the city council that's being voted in or that's currently there is very woke. However, like you said, a lot of things he want to do, he needs the governor and state legislator approval. And it says here that he kind of has two state house speakers, leaders that are, open to helping him deliver some of his campaign promises. But overall, any governor that wants to run for governor of New York, or if she wants to run for reelection, you can't bring socialism into New York City and even New York State.
Imagine
Because,
this.
and let me just say this one last thing. New York State, the state, because everybody always focus on the five boroughs, a lot of counties in New York State are red, very conservative. So,
Yeah, and they have representatives in the New York House and in the New York Senate. And the other thing is, I know the Second Circuit Court of Appeals for the feds is a little bizarre at times, but it still has to get past the U.S. Supreme Court, and it ain't gonna happen.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed A communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. As I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places.
There's no longer any doubt about the left's embrace of socialism. Zoran Mamdani will be sworn in as mayor of America's largest city and is doubling down on his radical agenda, despite businesses and parents looking to move their companies and families out of the Big Apple as fast as they can. But is it really a surprise that the far-left progressives have finally taken their place at the helm of the party? Even Nancy Pelosi is getting out of Dodge, a final change of the guard. So what does it all mean for 2026 and the Republicans mounting their midterm battle? Let's ask Ohio gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, gotta ask you about this. I mean, we knew the likelihood of a Mamdani win in New York City, but now that it's official, does it shock you? Does it feel like an entire city has forgotten the lessons of history?
Well, look, of course, New York City used to be a great American city that was the embodiment of capitalism, of success, of ambition. So it is shocking. It should shock us when you take a big step back to see a self-described socialist now leading that city. Lara, President Trump has done his part, secure the border. He's done his part in securing international peace. But now it's up to state and local leaders as well to focus on domestic economics. Because as bad as his solutions are, Mamdani's solutions are, he was still pointing to a problem that's affecting a lot of Americans. That's the problem of affordability. And the irony is we in the Republican Party have the right answers. Increase the supply of housing, of energy, of electricity. And yet we need to be focused more on that issue more than anything else, I think, heading into 2026. And if we do that, I think that will be a nice warning call this last week's election to help us wake up and deliver big victories again in 26.
Well, that is definitely the hope. And hopefully it was a wake-up call for a lot of people. I think it is shocking, though, to see that this Vivek seems like the future of the Democrat Party. I mean, maybe we should take a quick moment of silence for Nancy Pelosi. She announced her retirement. She's been in politics, Vivek, probably longer than you and I have even been alive and on this planet. But she's leaving. And does that signify to you a bit of a changing of the guard? Is this now her passing the baton on to the next generation of leaders who look like the AOCs and the Mamdanis of the world?
Look, you're seeing that at multiple levels. You saw Nancy Pelosi obviously retiring this week, but you also look at Mamdani defeating Cuomo in the Democrat Party's primary. That is the well-connected, backslapping politician of yesterday. That era has passed. Now, I think for America, it's actually a good thing, especially for moving on from this gerontocracy. But the real answer is we as Republicans have to offer our own alternative vision to what this new youthful socialist wing of the Democrat Party stands for. I think we have youthful energy on our own side, but the more we're talking about reviving that American dream for young people. So many young people on both sides of the aisle feel like home ownership is just a little bit out of reach. They work hard, but they're not quite getting ahead in the economy. We've got the solutions, and we're delivering them. President Trump is delivering them. But we have to make that now the top focus after having solved the border crisis, after having secured international peace. This is the next frontier, and I'm confident we're going to nail it. The problem is, otherwise, amongst young people, socialism is now more popular than capitalism. It was the youth vote that propelled Mamdani in that election. That youth vote wasn't going for Pelosi, so she's retiring, she's off the scene. They weren't going for the Cuomo era. But they're going to go for these new democratic socialists unless we offer that alternative vision, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, we have to offer an alternative vision. And we're a year out, Vivek, from you being on the ballot in Ohio, from a big midterm election coming up. So what is your advice to Republicans? What is your advice for ensuring that these midterms go the way that we want to see them go so that we can continue to make America great again?
Excellent. So we have to focus on our vision of the American dream, bring down costs, and make the American dream more affordable. Bring down the cost of housing, build more homes. Bring down those electric bills, produce more energy. Bring down the crazy healthcare costs. Bring down the cost of living in this country. And if we're able to do that while growing the economy, not with socialist solutions like freezing the rent or controlling grocery stores, but through true pro-capitalist solutions. Capitalism is the best system known to the history of man to lift people up from poverty. We're going to be successful. And I know that American dream exists, Lara, just like you. I've lived it, right? My parents came to this country half a century ago with nothing, and in a single generation to found successful companies, now potentially lead that very state of Ohio where I was born and raised. That story is normal in the United States of America. We need to celebrate that, grow our coalition, and I think we're going to do it. I think, yes, last week in New York is a little bit of a shot in the arm from time to time, a good thing. I think it is. A little bit of hardship, a little bit of bumps along the way. That's not victimhood. That's what helps us discover who we are. And I'm confident we're going to be in a strong position if we focus on the economy, particularly affordability heading into 26. That's my advice for Republicans.
The midterms are in 2026. They weren't in 2025, November. This is just sort of a preview, a trailer about the movie that's coming up. It's going to wake people up and they're going to say, oh, I'm going to make sure I vote in these midterms. And it's going to galvanize mainstream United States. So it's not going to be American Negroes. It's going to be Black Americans. It's not going to be American Caucasians. It's going to be white Americans, brown Americans, yellow and red Americans who just happen to have a unique color scheme, but we're all Americans. We aren't going to buy this crap. And the other thing, too, is this. I make this observation. I am a historian. I certainly got into enough of it in college. My declared major was political science, but there's only one other president in the entire 230-some year history of the United States of America that has been as badly villainized while in office as Donald Trump. Who is it?
Obama?
No, Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, damn. You going back centuries. Okay.
Yeah. So he is the one U.S. president who still is honored by the country. It's not George Washington. We have President's Day, even though he's still on the rolls. The person that the country really gives obeisance to is Abraham Lincoln, the Lincoln Memorial. He had his bad.
Some people in the chat was saying Reagan and Nixon.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. But Nixon was not incompetent. Nixon was just a very accomplished crook. You know one thing, he's the first U.S. president who was convicted of a felony before he became president. In 1960, he got convicted. 61, he got convicted in California of unlawful campaign practices, but they put him on a diversion program. And he survived that, and in 1968, he became president of the United States. He was a criminal. He was a mastermind criminal. He was brilliant. He had a soft spot for America, but he's a crook, was a crook.
Well, I'm going to play this.
George W. Bush was just a drunk, high fool who really had no class. Barack Obama was a foreign shyster who came in with a paint job and was part of the family of the Bushes, the Dick Cheneys, the Sarah Palins, etc., etc., etc. So, I mean, hey, blood's thicker than mud. But the fact of the matter is that nobody in American history has been attacked like Donald Trump outside of Abraham Lincoln.
Good observation. I want to play this clip here.
And nobody, by the way, in the last 100 years has made as many profound changes that needed to be made in the way we govern and done so much of what he said he was going to do.
So let me play this clip here. They're talking about socialism and the problem with socialism.
How can capitalism be working so well for so many people? It's not just billionaires going to these concerts. It's millions and millions of people who seem to be living these kind of lives. And other people, it's not working for at all. When you're 30 years old and you still have roommates, yes, capitalism has failed you. And the question to me is, how do we make socialism seem unattractive? Because you're right. It's not Socialism doesn't work. Well, young people, I understand where their feelings are. They refuse to crack a book and learn that we've tried it many, many times. It never works. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, and look, what's going on now has a lot to do with social media and being, addicted to being online, which happened a lot during COVID when people were stuck in their houses and just stuck on their devices, right? That's where kids are getting their information. I have a 9 and a 12-year-old, right? And it's TikTok, it's Instagram, that's where their information is coming from. And there are foreign powers working in on these devices and these platforms, trying to sell this stuff to our kids on all sorts of topics. But what I would say is, by the way,
Here's another clip.
You know what? I don't think social media is the problem. Social media can be stupid, ignorant, and all the rest of it. But the problem is CBS, MSNBC, ABC, Fox, CNN, et cetera, that with polished, well-financed, mass corporate institutions have been propagandizing the American public negatively and essentially glorifying dysfunction for a half century. That is our problem right now.
It's a supply and demand country. Now, Mamdani doesn't want that. He's not a socialist, he's a communist, okay? Mamdani's greatest quote is, "I agree with seizing the means of production."
Yeah.
Okay? That's communism. That's not socialism. Because in order to seize something, you have to use force. And that's what the communists do. So it's supply and demand. And I'm going on a jihad, to please Mamdani, of telling people don't buy anything that you feel is exploitative. You don't have to go to see Taylor Swift. You can pirate it on the social media. You can steal it. All right? Let's do a little Abby Hoffman here. Let's liberate this.
But that's not.
So I was playing those clips because they were talking about the problems with socialism and young people thinking that socialism is the answer. It'll help us to live in the United States, and they're not really being taught how to participate in capitalism, the pros and the cons of capitalism. So I kind of wanted to name this segment "The Truth About Socialism That New York City New Mayor Won't Tell You."
Quick observation.
Mm-hmm.
When you let socialism do everything for you, they also tell you everything to do. And this generation is singularly ill-disposed to being told a damn thing. They won't listen. So I don't know why they are so dead set on putting in place a political system that is not going to tolerate them speaking out against anything they're told to do.
Right. Well,
That's lawfare. That's what they did to Trump. They got Trump because he did not parrot the party line.
Well, I wrote out some bullet points, right, about socialism. Socialism sets the bar at the lowest common denominator. Unlike systems that strive for excellence, socialism accommodates the least capable and makes them the driving force, restricts development and innovation by unnaturally limiting what people can achieve. Historical examples show socialist nations consistently lag behind in economic growth and individual prosperity. Socialist mayors can't actually deliver on their big promises. We were just talking about that. He's going to have to deal with the state legislator and Governor Hochul, Mamdani. His promises to tax the rich, but mayors don't have taxation authority. That's the state legislator's job. Claims about controlling landlords and implementing major economic changes exceeds mayor powers. It's all political theater with no real substance behind the bold rhetoric. Socialism kills small business dreams and economic mobility. Mamdani's plan to socialize grocery stores would destroy countless small business opportunities, eliminate the main pathway for families to build wealth and pull themselves up economically, and creates government dependency instead of encouraging self-sufficiency and entrepreneurship. So here's the thing. New York City, what makes it also unique is you have 1,000,001 hustles in New York. But if you choose socialism, you won't have any hustles to choose from. So,
Yeah, you can. You join the government and you steal from the tax coffers.
but everybody can't work for the government.
Oh, I know that, but they don't get it. They can, man. It's like the '60s, man. It's time to get high, man. I gotta get high, man. I'm not straight if I'm not high, man. Hey, it's about love, man, not war. If you want to see what these talking about, go on cable and pay to view Up in Smoke, the franchise with Cheech and Chong. And that is so real. That's what I was looking at, you know, in my world out on the West Coast in the 1960s. That is just straight up and down reality. Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke. And when you see it and you get the irresponsibility, the slacking, the just indolent, don't give a damn, total irresponsibility. Somewhere, somehow, something of it, it'll work out, man. Don't worry about it, man. Something will happen. I don't know what, man, but it'll all work out, man. And that's the kind of attitude that you're getting with Zohan here.
Right.
And by the way, doesn't he kind of look like the character?
I didn't see that movie. It looked corny, but yes,
It is. It's as corny and stupid as the devil, but that's why. It's a litmus test. How stupid can Blue get? You know, and you're looking at it and then put it in the context of AOC, Jasmine Crockett, uh, Newsom, Best, you know, Bass, rather, you get the whole thing. You see where it leads to, and people are going, wait a minute. Oh no, they got elected. They took over New. Oh no, we can't have that come to where you live, where I live.